But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Click OK, Len, Refracted, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So welcome one and all.
How are you?
All right. A little bit flustered, because I'm behind schedule. So on the way to my class today, there was a whole load of road closures. And diverting on the way back. Still delayed me. And then when I got back, there was lots of things to do with the kids. The wife's literally just got out the door minutes before the live stream started, which isn't normally the case. It does mean I got a hot cup of coffee, though. Normally it's long cold. So I'm delighted to have a nice hot cup of coffee right next to me. In the pre-show, we were discussing the necessity for a plane of reference, and I was suggesting that it's perhaps almost too kind to them to suggest that you're in a ball, because some of the diagrammatical examples that I put up on screen that are derived from ball believers' utilisation of a flat plane has obviously given some people the impression, so that's my claim. It's like, nah, I'm not making any measurements. And the more that time elapses, the less I'm inclined to, the less I care. It's like, if everybody's measuring it flat, why on earth would I need to, other than to give people who want to put a false dichotomy together where there's a belief in a ball versus a belief in a flat earth, the ball being represented by people who say flat earthers are wrong, and the flat earth being represented by people who talk about 9/11 and Sandy Hook and moon landing hoaxes quite a lot. In other words, neither are actually about the subject that would be taught to people in the States in the social studies class and in the UK in the geography class. And in universities worldwide, presumably in the geography class, we didn't get that far in the discussion. But nevertheless, why would it be upon me to measure anything? If we're all measuring it flat, regardless of our belief, then we're all measuring it flat. So that means it falls under that age-old category, which I absolutely love. If everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything at all. So I won't be measuring anything. I don't need to. It's already been done.
But why is it being taught in social studies? That's weird to me. Like, I'm reading up on it now, and it's not. It's only when you get into high school that you start to learn world geography. Kindergarten through 8, it's in social studies.
I mean, I'm more than content to keep it in the geography class if it does get taught as a geography subject in high school by, for everybody, generally speaking, in what I'm going to call the Western world education. I appreciate that style of education is probably more worldwide than it's hinted at by me when I suggest it's just us and you, as in the UK and the States. I would suggest that it's just the Western world style education that isn't just given to English speakers. It doesn't matter where you are anymore. Everybody has the universal one world religion taught to them. And if you don't know what the one world religion is, you're obviously new here, because it's heliocentrism. That is the one world religion. But the one world religion also requires Earth be measured flat, Mapping, charting the world in general is a flat Earth process, and then dealing with the surface that you've measured and charted is a flat Earth endeavour, like remaining in parallel flight with the ground or sailing with respect to the angles that you measure for navigation, GPS. Everything is utilising Cartesian systems and coordinates that have been both derived from flat Earth measurements and are utilising flat Earth measurements after the fact. Again, if everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything. How frivolous it makes this tracking the sun that we did 10 years ago, or however many years ago it was now. How frivolous that now seems. Like, again, I use myself, why be self-deprecating when I can use Simon Dan? I'm sure Dan, in his mind, thinks that what he did this year, last year, I can't even remember, when he went and measured elevation angles to the sun with the use of 1,000 participants from his audience, in his mind, I can totally relate to how he will have been feeling. Like, what he's doing is really important and special when he measures Earth flat 1,000 times. But other than me being the one that actually gets to utilise it to make a point about how flat Earth is, what purpose did it serve? Now, for me, that's the same useless purpose that he's getting out of it. When I utilise the same thing, like I was saying on yesterday's show, it doesn't make any difference if I say this. It's still going to be measured flat regardless. So literally, other than the us versus them false dichotomy that we found ourselves arguing within the last 10 years, it served no purpose. Tracking the sun on a flat Earth served no purpose. It was utterly useless in an endeavour. It was just a folly. And likewise, Simon Dan's measuring of a flat surface with elevation angles is equally as big a folly. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't gain any experience for anybody in any area whatsoever. It doesn't advance humanity a single iota. It's not doing anything for anybody, is it? Other than enabling us, me, the people around me, to fight them. So suddenly there's a separation. And I'm glad that over the period I've stuck to my guns and put my flat Earth hat to one side and put my YouTube hat on and commended people like Simon Dan. You know, if you can go out and make a living from this, then great. Then I'm jealous. Good for you. As opposed to you're my enemy, I wish badly upon you. I definitely don't want to do that. I mean, there are definitely people on the opposing side who do that towards me. I hear about it regularly. But I'm glad that I haven't taken that approach, because there's a way of keeping people under control, which is keeping you fighting amongst yourselves. And we've fell victim to it as flat earthers. Now, I'm identifying the flat earthers as the conspiracy group that we are, me included, and saying you are no different to your enemy. So I can't remember who it was that's been chatting with me about the Friday show, and I'll credit them if I remember. I can't at the moment. But someone was pointing out, love thy neighbour. You shouldn't be feeling a hatred for the people who are on the perceived opposite side of this discussion, because there isn't one. We're all on the same team. We're all measuring Earth the same way, regardless of our beliefs after the fact. So it might be the case that you believe that there was thermite or a guided energy weapon from the sky when it comes to a certain type of conspiracy that's put out there, while another man thinks it's actually lots of men that, their passports blow out of planes that were definitely there. You know what I mean? And those people, they're not your enemy. They've just got a different belief to you. But belief is all it's really about, and it's alleged within a societal structure that everybody's entitled to their belief. Yet we're all set against each other fighting about them, aren't we? Meanwhile, Earth continues to be flat. It continues to be measured that way, charted that way, mapped that way, flown that way, sailed that way, built on that way, regardless of us fighting amongst ourselves, achieving nothing. So what will we get if we continue the way we are on the path that we are preordained to be on? We've been brought along this path from conspiracy for flat earthers. From the other side, it's been from Dweebville. But we're on that path, and now we're fighting each other. For what? So we can grow old and die, and then the process can repeat for the next generation. Sod that.
Are we fighting?
Yeah. For the last 10 years, we've been spending our time fighting against it. In the pre-show, I was talking about your apathy that you should hold for the people you're saying you ignore, but when it's highlighted to you that you've discussed them repeatedly. That would be the perception of an enemy. And they're not. They're just people. And they're people with a different belief to you, but is not everybody entitled to their belief? Especially when we all use the same measurements to achieve different beliefs in this instance when referring to Earth's geography.
What belief do I hold?
Exactly.
You held a belief prior to now. we are now moving into the exception to the rule. Us personally, this company now, you, me, and the gatepost.
Nathan changes every other week, John. We got to keep up.
Yeah, that's what I love about this subject. It is not only evergreen, right? It's just geography. Now, when I considered flat Earth as the evergreen subject, it turns out now it's just geography. But geography is an evergreen subject, absolutely without question. I just didn't know that that would be the way I would be pivoting into YouTube on a subject that I had, past tense, no experience in. You know, I thought I'd start a computer channel or something. I mean, it was hi-fi prior. I thought computers is something I was interested in. That's where I thought I would branch into. And it's an interest that I've held. You know, even one of the panel members is a guy who runs a computer shop. It is definitely an interest of mine, having been brought up with computers. My folks ran a computer shop when I was a kid. Computers is something I've been with for the majority of my life. So what do I cover on YouTube? Geography.
So you should name it Welcome to Flat Earth Geography.
I mean, the subject will remain the title of the show until there is no perception of a debate. That is to say, while I've been trying to justify it as just a namesake, no, it's a realistic title. So we can say there is no debate in reality. That is to say, with respect to how Earth is measured, there is literally no debate, right? We all measure Earth flat. So go back and listen to Friday's show. As much as my persona is outbreak your nose if you talk through me in person, because that is the attitude that I would take towards that person when they've got their internet brave pills. But during the process, what you'll hear is people who have to lie to themselves when they try to utilise flat earth prerequisites to infer that they're on a ball. Drop over distance. Distance measurement's a flat earth measurement. There's no getting away from this. Now, I can sit here in complete contentment that I'm never going to have to measure any distance of anything ever. But do I need to infer that, no, we can measure distance with a trundle wheel over hills and then diagrammatically represent a curve, giving you the curve? The drop over the distance from the curve with the trundle wheel gives you the curve? I'm going to go with no. But the people who have to do those sorts of mental acrobatics are in a lot of pain. We've already covered this many times on previous shows. But not only are they in a lot of pain, they're willing to lie to themselves. Now, we say it's lying to their audience, and it's not. It's always lying to yourself in this particular subject matter through cognitive dissonance. So again, I've got to love my neighbour and think it's a shame. I should feel more sorrow for them than I do. You know, my general demeanour on the Friday show was one of, you adenoidal, irritating pricks that got bullied at school don't deserve our attention. And they do. They're our neighbours. They're just people. They might have come to this subject via the dweeb route rather than the conspiracy route. But so what? They're just people.
Could it be that they're just wrong, Nathan?
They are just wrong about their belief in a ball, because the ball that they believe in is derived from the measurements of the surface, and the surface is measured flat. So yes, they're wrong, but so were we for the last, let's say, 5 years prior to the midpoint of flat Earth debate.
Right.
So were we. We had a belief in a flat Earth. Why? Well, because you can't survive in space. How can a tin can go in an orbital motion in a sky vacuum? Because the distance that we see to the horizon's too far. Now we go, distance, that's flat. Altitude to the sky, that's flat. That's a perpendicular measurement from sea level. All of these prerequisites are all I ever hear now. And it chills me out. I'm like, I can put the big act on and pretend like I'd be breaking people's noses. I had to say this as a disclaimer after the fact. No, I wouldn't. Like I said to Neil yesterday, I've seen the inside of police cells and often enough to know how to behave when I'm actually in public. So it is all bravado. A few people pointed that in the comments, like, yeah, you're playing the big man too. Like, yeah. I did disclaim that during the live show when someone asked me about being a failed actor.
You're not going to let people talk to you that way and bring up your kids in a conversation. If you're face to face, that don't happen. And the other thing is, yes, when we came to understand that we're on a flat plane of reference, the penny dropped. So my question is, Are they just wrong, or are they just willfully being blind? Because there's no way that they cannot comprehend what's being put to them.
But it scares them. It's always fear. You just forget how you were fear bombed with this subject when you were on the ball. That's what it boils down to. Their fear of not being on a ball leads them to behave the way that they do and lie to themselves. So again, it's back to cognitive dissonance and brainwashing. We're talking about the devil's work. But don't blame the player, blame the game. All this ever was, it was a game the whole time. A game to keep us at loggerheads with our fellow man. So, now that we know the truth, and as much as people who we spoke to on Friday are just a silly little group of people that are separate from the rest of what we have called ballers, so those people are a very small minority, the ones that are willing to lie overtly about the derivation of their curve from the distance that's measured flat. Those people, they're not worth our time, but let's not tar everybody with that brush. Those people are in severe cognitive dissonance to the point where they're willing to lie to escape their fear of not being on a ball. For most people, that isn't the realisation that they come to in the question that they ask when they find this information out, or more likely, are presented with this information. They're not willing to suddenly lie for the ball and deny the horizontal distance a curve's derived from. They ask a much more simple question. And it's the same old question I had to ask myself when putting myself in the customer's shoes and trying to sell them something. What's in it for me? That comes across from a former globe believer moving forward, let's just call them, as what difference does it make? They'll probably give an example. I'll still have to pay the mortgage tomorrow. And who can't relate to that? You're like, well, now the answer's been found out to that very early question. Well, none. It was always being dealt with as a flat plane. It's not like something's got to change when it comes to flying at flight level, parallel with surface level. They already were flying with respect to a plane of reference. So nothing's going to change. You don't have to worry about it. It's not that big a deal. It's just what we believed in universally was a Western world religion that was derived from a church rhetoric, and that is wrong. Doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make me a bad person. Now, in your cognitive dissonance, you might want to deny that fact, but then you've got to deny your own measurements. Again, it's insulting to our fellow man to put them between the rock and the hard place intentionally, and the only people who tend to find themselves between a rock and a hard place are the people who want to deny the base measurement for something like distance to derive a curve from it, because it's oh so very painful, having spent years saying, you idiot flat earthers. It's like you fear how you will be treated because you have treated your fellow man like that. Again, it's a projection rather than introspection. And when they project out their anger and disdain, they then fear how that would feel. And there's going to be people who will not cope, that will never be able to actually cope with this. But I don't think they're a majority. I think they're a very small minority. You'd be surprised. There's a reason we see the same lion tamers everywhere. Very rarely you see a new lion tamer step in, but most of the people are on the periphery. They're in the audience. They've come to the circus temporarily. Most of them don't graduate to lion tamers, but the lion tamers want you to believe that they represent everybody. Again, it's back to gamma dicks that think they're the secret king. And in their cognitive dissonance and lies and deceit about being on a ball and not being able to cope with their derivation of flat earth measurements, want to project out an idea that they are representative of the society around them. They're not. In the analogy from yesterday, if they're the kids getting their heads dunked down the bog because they're dweebs, they're the ones running through the corridors dripping wet to the headmaster's office. But who's everyone else? Who are the other players? The kids are just sat in the classrooms, the ones learning about how Earth's a ball in science class. They're the ones that attention's drawn to the windows of the classroom when they see the kid dripping running by, and they all just start laughing. That is to say, most people in life are just here to have a laugh. You know, they'll immediately turn their attention away from the ball being taught on the blackboard in front of them if there's a dripping kid running by screaming. You know, that's just how it was in school. But the majority of the players are not the dweebs. Most normies aren't dweebs. Just normal people trying to pay their mortgage, and they ask the question, well, what difference does it make if it's flat? None, it always was. Nothing will have to change. It was always being measured that way anyway, in spite of us being told incorrectly that we were on a ball in the science class.
Okay, Nathan, I got a hypothetical question for you. What if we immediately understood measurement, and instead of it being a debate, we're like, look, Earth is measured flat, and we take it from there? Do you think that there would be still the amount of disdain that went,
Yes.
that covered this whole freaking topic?
Yes, because you've been handpicked to be in this group as somebody who is inconsequential to the discussion that's created. If you say, we understand it to be flat, and then you said run with it, is that how you just phrased it?
Well, in other words, instead of us going through all of that, this is when on the ball, this don't work, gravity, all of that. It just starts. It's 2014. It's like, look, Earth is measured flat. And we go through it with, say, the Rumpus or other people. I don't know if there would be that much disdain.
That's not
There
what I'm
might
asking.
have been a penny
Okay,
drop.
what I'm saying is, once you've got that information, what are you, personally, going to proactively do to better society, to erect a building or a bridge or a tunnel? What are you, in this arena, the one that's talking about the Rumpus and the characters that are the dweebs from the other side, basically the minority I'm describing as wanting to be the secret king majority, right? Those people, the same applies to them. What are they going to do with this information? The contrast is true for them, though. What are they going to do with the ball information? Are they devising a better system for retrograde motion and figuring out where the lights will be? Are they going to give us a better calendar that's based on heliocentrism? Are they going to give us better navigation systems that are based on ball derivations of flat Earth measurements? It's the same for them. The people who are put into this arena, the people we're metaphorically dunking their heads down the bog currently, the dweeb patrol from the ball Earth side, right? They don't have any bearing on this. They're not doing anything with the heliocentric information they're fighting for. All they're doing is fighting with us. The former us, the us that would argue with a not seeing far enough or far too far argument. Those arguments don't have any fruitful outcome. They're not producing anything, right? Nothing's being made as a result of us having this discussion. So us saying, well, should we moving forward roll with the it's just measured? Well, no. You don't need to do anything at all, do you, Neil? Now, you appreciate the world's flat and good for you. But moving forward, what do you mean moving forward? Number one, forward, what, flat Earth direction? But moreover, with what? Are you about to build something? Were you about to start a tunnelling project? Did you decide that you were going to move into cartography in your retirement? Have you decided to become a pilot, Neil?
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm suggesting is we were coming with the silly stuff that we came with, wrapped in freaking conspiracy. If we would have just came correct, like, no, wait a second. Let's think about it. It's geography. It's flat. Look,
Sure.
it's drop over what drop over distance? It's the measurement, a flat Earth measurement.
You're ignoring what I'm trying to put across to you in a character arc. For you, when you say from conspiracy, you're on this character arc. Now take the mapping guy. He's on a completely different character arc to the flat Earth that he measures. And he does measure it flat. But he hasn't got any concerns. It's been orchestrated algorithmically in YouTube terminology, so that the person who does actually have to deal with it flat will. And those persons aren't going to be mocked. They aren't going to be attacked. They're just describing how the mapping gets done. But they're not also explaining how someone else is wrong. Now, the anti-flat earthers, why did we give them that name? because they aren't promoting a ball or doing anything useful with it. They're telling us, the perceived opposition, that's flat earthers, that they're wrong. Look at Craig. Fight the flat earth. That's not, I'm going to prove the ball's correct, is it? It's, I'm going to fight you so that I can defeat you. The opposition.
Okay, would his name be Fight the Tight Shirt if we came differently, is my point. If we came with measurement from the beginning.
No, we wouldn't.
I'm sorry.
Let
I
me
think
answer
the penny
you. No.
drops immediately on
answer.
people, and there are
Hello?
no Fight
I
the
heard you.
Tight Shirt.
I heard you. No. Is he out fighting Map Guy? Craig, Fight the Flat Earth. Is he out fighting the Map Guy?
He don't have to, because Jin's correct on that. The whole time this guy's doing cartography, he thinks he's on a ball. Come on, Nathan.
Right, so live and let live. It makes no difference to the cartography. That's being dealt with flat anyway. And the way it's been engineered is such that the guy who's measuring it flat can still keep his belief in a ball. I mean, it's going to cause him cognitive pain no different to anybody else. But he can just keep his ball faith. You know, look at Thunderfoot. He's explaining how you take the measurements from a flat plane and transpose them inside a ball, as we were discussing that on the pre-show. Well, you just got to move it inside the ball. He knows how cognitively painful it was to go through that process, and he's either accepting his own ignorance or recognising the contradiction and rolling with it anyway. Both are equally cognitively painful. So that person, back to the subject matter, isn't going to be attacked from somebody telling them they're wrong. Now, I'm sick of telling people that they're wrong. Why would I want to tell Thunderfoot that he's wrong? Okay, so you believe that you take your measurements from a flat plane and put them inside a ball. Okay, you can believe that. But why do I need to tell him he's wrong? I mean, isn't it obvious? We're not inside a ball. We're standing on the surface that we measured flat. The transposition only takes place so you can believe you're on a ball. Well, you're the one transposing it. Let him. They've got to jump through these hoops to believe they're on a ball when the recognition of the flat earth comes along. Same applies to the mapping guy. What's he going to say? Well, it's because we're on a really big ball. But over the 10 years, I've seen this cognitive process, and I fight against both versions of it. When someone tells me, well, yeah, we measure Earth, and we've got it ball-shaped, it gets contradicted. And then when the contradiction comes, they say, well, that's because it's a really big ball, so biggie it's flatty. And back in the day, I would brace against that too. No, you should be believing this because you believe you're on a ball. Now, it's like, that's a cognitively painful process that they, the ones who formerly opposed me, would have had to have gone through. So big it's flat. We're getting it currently from our opposition and perception when they say, it's so big, we measure it flat. Like, well, we measure it flat. Never going to change.
Yeah, but Nathan, even the map guy said when he found out, Nathan just doesn't understand.
Yeah, so
this is what
his
you want to
reaction,
deal with. People that tell you don't understand.
Yeah, so his reaction is to tell me that I'm wrong. Again, societally, it's been trained into us that we go, he is incorrect. Not, I'm right in my belief of a ball. He didn't immediately go, well, here's your ball measurement. And then not care about it because it's easy to demonstrate. He had to tell me that I was wrong. Because in this balance of heliocentrism, you have to prove your opponent is wrong so that you can be right. You can't say, well, here's my ball measurement. What are you talking about? Which is what you'd do if it was the case, wouldn't you? That's what we're doing currently. We're going, well, I don't care what you think. Here's the flat earth measurement. Well, you think blah, 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 blah. We get back. Okay, well, let's listen to how it's a ball. Well, if we take the drop over the distance, what the flat distance measurement of Earth's surface? Again, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to tell them they're wrong. I just need to point out a measurement and go, there you go. There's the Earth measurement. It's flat. You're using it. I'm using it. If you allege that I'm utilising a version of a heliocentric derivation, as has been recently the case. People want to call the ball derivation of flat measurements mine. It doesn't matter. They're still flat measurements. We've still got horizontal distance. That's still how Earth is dealt with. So for the cognitively dissonant, they can keep it. I, and me alone, have relinquished myself of this cognitive pain. Now, am I such a good guy that I want to wish that on other people? Oh, I wish everybody else was released from their cognitive dissonance. If somebody's in a cell, shackled, and I go, wow, I can't believe it, I've woke up today, the cell door's open, there's no chains, I can just walk free. Yeah. And then I go to somebody who's next to me, you can walk free, there aren't actually any chains. Do you notice it's come off their leg? And they go, shut up, flattard, and clamp it back on again. Why would I want to hang around? I can walk out the jail cell and just carry on with my life, free of that cognitive pain. I no longer have to concern myself with somebody who's going to tell me that I'm wrong so that they can be right. And back to the map guy, instead of saying, I'm just right, here's the ball measurement. There you go. What are we talking about? Here's the measurement. What? He doesn't have to prove I'm wrong to do that. He just can't. So his only route is you're wrong. I no longer have that route needed. It's no longer necessary for me to say, for flat Earth to be correct, your belief that we see this far, that's a flat Earth distance, is wrong. I don't have to do that no more. It's not necessary. I've freed myself of the shackles. I've walked out the circus, whatever metaphor you want to use. Why would I want to walk back in? Good for me. I'm delighted. The more I realise what I'm currently verbalising, the more chill I actually become. The easier life becomes. I have no longer got the shackles of cognitive dissonance required to square the circle of how Earth is dealt with versus how Earth is taught to be believed in. I don't have that problem anymore. That's good for me. Lucky old me. What's that? You want to tell me I'm right? Well, then you're using me to square your circle. By making me wrong, you think you're making your belief in a ball right, because that's how you've been trained. I don't have to do that anymore. And if necessary, fine, no worries. Okay, for you to have your cognitive dissonance pain relief, you need to make me wrong about Earth being flat. Okay? But I've done this dance. Every time that I'm currently being utilised to offer pain relief, people get pointed out how they're using the flat Earth that they tell me I'm wrong about. So it seems like a silly dance, doesn't it? People I'm dancing with have got left feet only and are falling over their own shoelaces the whole time while they try and tell me that I'm wrong while I'm skipping around the dance floor. It seems nuts.
They're saying you don't know how to dance. Meanwhile, They got 2 left feet.
Yes, they're telling me I don't know how to dance while I'm skipping around the dance floor, attracting the ladies. My point being that I don't have to dance with them. But their dance is, if I can make him wrong, that means the consensus who views how wrong Nathan is, how scummy he is, how much he hits his kids, that makes me right. That's literally where we've got to. If I can show Nathan's a child abuser, Earth's a ball, that is literally the cognitive processing that they're going through. Amazing when you think about it. It's like, well, number one, why would I want to be around anybody who wants to abuse me in such a way just to relieve themselves of a cognitive dissonance? And the answer is I wouldn't. Would I? But moving forward through my life, I'm quite happy. I'm poor. I've got 2 mortgages. From a financial perspective, things aren't great. But from a mental perspective, and back to the Alan Watts examples, what's Alan Watts talking about? Is it about the rat race and you need to really get more money? He's never talking about those things, is he? I mean, this isn't a revelation to me. I've understood this since a pre-teen age, that life is about living. It's about what's going on in the moment. This is ace. I'm sat with my equipment around me in a acoustically treated room, sounding good on a Neumann microphone, broadcasting to at least 3 people. I don't know how many people are watching. 67. But you know what I mean? This is awesome. This is what I trained for. I couldn't be happier. So why put myself in a position of misery like the whipped lion? Why walk back into the circus?
Because they want to dance with you, Nathan.
With somebody who loves me.
Yeah, it's that apathy that you're forming. You kind of get a sense of empathy too after a while. But yeah, the apathy never goes away. Like, I don't want to argue with people no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they become like some bitchy ex-wife who's drunk all the time and miserable, and you're like, why do I want to be around you? I'm not going to bail you out when the police come and arrest you. Why would I do that? Yeah, she's a drunk. You just think, well, okay, if that's how these people want to live their life, let them. Just distance yourself from these people. That's the apathy. Now, the empathy comes because you're like, no, I've seen that I don't need to wear these chains. And it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Not having to square a circle is wonderful. And I don't need to. Like I say, if it ever comes up, really this was my main concern throughout the last 10 years. What if this comes up in public? Will it end up in fisticuffs? Not from me, from the person that's absolutely infuriated by me going, yeah, it's flat, and not being able to draw the conversation to a very calm close very quickly. Now I can do that. Easy. With average norm, it's dead easy. Takes about 20 seconds. Yeah, it's just measured that way. It really is measured that way, like miles, south, heights. What do you want? That's how Earth's measured. Now, if they like, because they're asking me because they know what I do, this flat Earth debate, they might ask more intricate questions, in which case I can describe accurately through 10 years of education on the subject the heliocentric requirement for a flat plane to be measured. Not where it has its flaws, not where they're wrong, but where they're right in how flat Earth already was and is, and their belief in a ball relies on it. Now, that might come as a shock, but I can now say it hand on heart and go, it's not actually that serious. Nothing's going to change. You'll still have to pay your mortgage tomorrow. I'll throw it back at them before they even ask proactively. You'll still have to pay your mortgage tomorrow. Don't worry your precious little head about it. It's just measured flat.
So you're saying it's okay for them to utilize Earth being flat to construct their ball and their whole heliocentric system? It's
Yes.
okay, just
live and let live. Absolutely. You want a ball derived from flat Earth measurements? Have it. Oh, right. When you've got cognitive dissonance because your ball is derived from flat Earth measurements, I give it you. You can have it. Tell them, Nathan's wrong. The flat Earth measurements I need to derive my ball from, they're Nathan's, and he's wrong. Okay. If that helps, you can do it. You can have it. It's on me.
yeah, but they can't say that because you're not wrong. So how are they going to say that?
But I'm giving them permission to anyway. If you like, fine. Say Nathan beats his wife. Go ahead. Do it. I don't care. If that makes you think that somehow me, a flat earther who understands intrinsically how Earth is measured flat, to create your ball, if by saying those words you can't go anywhere but Nathan must be a wife beater, go ahead. You can do it. You can have it on me. Go ahead. Tell the world that I beat my kids, beat my wife, I'm a drug dealer. Make up any old shit you like. You can have it. I don't care. I literally couldn't give a shit anymore. Because what difference does it make to me? In sincerity. It's sticks and stones from idiots who are only doing it so they can make me wrong so that they can be right. Well, no. Cognitively speaking, you're never going to square this circle. No amount of making Nathan Oakley wrong will change how your drop, that's Earth curve, is derived from distance. That's flat Earth measurements. That is as simplistically as I can put it. There's no other way to describe your religion of a ball, and you're entitled to it. Now, if you're so evil that you need to make another man the bad guy because you can't process this cognitively, I'm saying have it. I don't mind being that martyr. I'll be that martyr. No worries. Have it. It's on me. Delight, pleasure. But me, what do I do in my day? Do I wander around worrying about how Earth is flat? No. I worry about you communicating with me in the street. And by you, I mean the general public, the audience. When I come across you and you go, well, what do you do for a living? I go, YouTuber. What kind of YouTuber? Cosmology YouTuber? What's that mean? I talk about flat Earth. Well, we've got space. Have you never seen pictures from space? That's what I fear. The aggression that I face regularly on the show being portrayed because the Gammas have convinced me that they represent the majority, and they don't. This is something I'm really delighted to report upon. The gamma dicks that we deal with, the aggressive dicks from the dweeb patrol, number one, they still are the stereotype they always were. They're dweebs. They were the kids that had their heads stunk down the toilet. But they do not, like they've created the impression through this. The facilitation of the internet has allowed these famous, faceless, nameless dicks to create an impression that they are the majority, that they represent the majority. Like the secret kings that they believe they are, not only do they represent the majority, they rule over the majority with their cognitive dissonance that they need to make me wrong about. If they're secret kings, why are they putting me up on a pedestal? Who am I? I'm nobody. But to them, I'm very important, aren't I? And that's the way I've realised it over the last literally 24 hours. Why am I in this position? And I'll shout out Thomas Sheridan for making this abundantly clear to me when he's pointing out something that I was already aware of, how fine a line there is between love and hate. Why would you need, that's to say love, Nathan Oakley if you say I'm wrong? Because that's how you need to cognitively square this circle. You can't make a flat earth measurement ball-shaped. You can't make distance curve when you're referencing the curve that you believe in from the distance that's measured flat. These things aren't possible. So you need me, don't you? You need me to be wrong so that you can be right. No, you're not. And making me wrong won't make you right. But that is where I fit into this equation. So recognising my part in this little play that we all take part in is quite useful. Because I can go, that's all you need from me. Have it. What's that? I'm wrong. Okay. I don't walk out of the door worried about it because I know the real score when it comes to the measurements. You're all using them. So what difference does it make if you want to tell the world that I'm wrong? Doesn't matter. When I go on my little tour de book this year, 2026, I'll be on people's show going, yeah, it's not that big a deal. It's just measured flat. Nothing's going to change. You'll still have to pay your mortgage, Ruffles. I
also wouldn't worry about real life because none of these guys will say shit to your face, so it doesn't matter.
Well, no, that's true, but that's not something I necessarily want to lean in. But I'll agree with you from the point of view that I'm not a small guy. I'm quite intimidating up close and personal. Like, from a distance, you'll stroll up to me, and then when you get to me, you'll be like, no, I don't have that problem and never have. I can be fairly intimidating in person, is my point.
Well, yeah, like prime example was Whitsitt. He was saying after his trip how McToon was like the biggest pussy to him in real life, trying to be all friendly, and then as soon as they got back, he started talking shit to him online again. That's how people are, man.
Of course. The difference is, right, when I say that this is a persona and an act, well, I had this conversation with my wife. She was like, well, you are generally like that. And she gave me a couple of examples, and I'm like, yeah, I know I am. But I have also confessed to that. I appreciate that this is an act, right? I'm in front of a camera, there's lights on, right? Obviously, this is performative to a certain extent. But that doesn't mean that I'm not justified in giving Nathan Oakley the real title of me sat here, because this is how I am. That is to say, if you were up in my face in person, I'm not lying. There's a good chance you would actually get a broken nose. And that's why I've exampled it in terms of my spending time in police cells when I've broken people's noses, because that's just how I am. It's like, why are you doing that? You do realise this could result in pain for you. You'll only get warned once. So that is generally how I am. I'm not...
Especially if they bring your wife and kids into it.
Well, exactly.
I mean, geez.
Precisely. That's why I've made this clear. Now, somebody pointed it out in the comments, because I was trying to fathom why people had backed me when I'm describing being violent. And they're like... I think this was Fisherman in a Box. He's like, well, Nathan's got a wife and 2 kids. He's surrounded by 3 women, so he's going to be very protective. You're like, yeah. Suddenly, I was like, click, yes. I know why I am how I am. When I was the most aggressive on Friday's show, it's when somebody's like, are you like this around your kids? Suddenly, like, all right, you, a person who's consistently lying about a drop you need to believe in derived from a flat measurement of distance, are now talking about my 2 daughters. Yeah, it suddenly makes your blood boil. The adrenaline starts pumping, and the next thing you know, if that was a face-to-face confrontation, that person would have their head stamped on. wouldn't they?
Freaking right. Yeah. And it doesn't stop there because they'll bring it up. They'll send messages. How can you be around a guy like that who speaks that way with his wife and kid in the next room? I mean, it just does not stop. They need to get their faces broken. That's what I believe.
Well, I'm bringing it back to earth. My whole purpose of Friday's show was to make these dweebs aware of where they sit societally, because they've got a bit above their station in the last 10 years. They've started to sniff their own farts a bit too much. They've started to believe they actually are that secret king they believe themselves to be. That's what Gamma Dick is. It's like, well, let's remind you what you really are, dweeb, and how society will have treated some of these people. I know how they get treated. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been on the inflicting end of that treatment on occasion and been punished for it, so it's not like I'm going to make any bones about what I am. But I don't have to put on too much of a persona when I'm sat in this chair. For the most part, I'm 99% exactly as I am in real life. My personality is what it is. Yeah? Now, for the most part, that leaves me as a generally quite amiable and likeable person, but like any man, it's there as a monster, the aggressive monster ready to be let out. But I'm sure I've said this on previous shows too, I know my own monsters really well. I'm comfortable with what I am. I know what I am. Most of the people we deal with do not have that privilege. They have never had any introspection at all. So they're not sat around content with themselves. Most of them have got a deep sense of self-loathing. Quite the contrary to being content in their own skin and walking out the door after a flat earth debate and saying, what's for dinner? Not, bastard! He proved it was a ball with flat earth measurements and he wouldn't accept it. I never have those feelings. Like, beyond the entertainment value that the show offers when doing exactly that. Once the show's over, I don't care. Literally, I couldn't care less. Like I say, my main concern is that I might have to have that conversation with lots of eye rolling from me with some dude or dudette in public. You're like, no, when that happens, I will be out with a different purpose. When I'm at Legoland or out doing my shopping or wherever it may be that I'm out, I don't want to have that conversation like the guy in the garage doesn't want to talk about your clutch. Yeah? But we're like, oh, how can I end this conversation quickly? So from that perspective, I'm now in a position where I can summarise the flat earth debate from an elongated nonsense about heliocentrism down to a couple of words. It's just measured flat.
Yeah, but those are fighting words, Nathan. You can't just say that. Like I told you got enemies on both sides with that.
And walk away from all of them. I am independent of these people, right? So I will be capable of waffling for approximately 30 to 40 minutes every day on a show. I can't quite make the full hour. I just don't have it in me. On my own, alone, right? So if everybody deserted me, no offence to you, Neil, if everyone buggered off now and there wasn't half a dozen people in the Discord server and half a dozen people in the G Plus panel, I'd still easily make at least half an hour show every day. On my own, just without anybody. No issues. I could do that all day, every day, 7 days a week without any issues whatsoever. I don't need
Agreed.
When you say it's fighting words and the people around me, it's like I really hope the book assists me paying things like mortgages and electric bills and actually makes a difference so that I don't have to do the show. Because at the moment, the only thing that I loathe a little bit about the show is my need to do it. When I'm ill, for instance, I still have to really do the show. I'll only take a day or two off at the most if I'm really ill. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to get ill in the near future, I hope not, but you know what I mean? I want to be in a position where I don't have to do the show. It's a YouTube channel, right? I've still got material out there all the time. It's always available, and I've got thousands of videos. The problem I have currently is I'm so poor that I have to do the show. And it'd be nice to go, well, now I'm going to go on a holiday, which I can't afford. And that means no live shows for a week without too much concern. And suddenly I don't have to say, well, I'm going to have to monitor the show every day that I publish a premiere, that there isn't a live show, because otherwise the mortgage ain't going to get paid. It'd be nice to not have that concern. But isn't that exactly the same concern as any working man? Everybody's got to work. I just have to work at something that I love, so I should be more grateful than annoyed that I have to do the show. But I think the quality of show would go up if I didn't. This is the second time I've done it on this show. Mention that I've got 2 mortgages, for example, right? If I didn't have to concern myself so much with that particular aspect of doing the show, let's say I'm dependent financially upon doing the show, it would mean that I was doing it more towards the I enjoy doing it end of the scale rather than that I need to do it for money end of the scale. And that would mean I'd be more relaxed in what I do rather than fretting about making sure it's done for the financial reward. Now, currently, I do absolutely require this show to go out daily as a live stream on Monday to Friday and have shows running every day of the week and have multiple shows and trimmed out versions of the show and shorts, videos, whatever it is I'm doing. I need to do all of that. Otherwise, stuff don't get paid. You know what I mean? So it would be nice if that wasn't the case. I'm hoping that when the book comes out, it will consistently sell. I'm always writing or editing currently the book in that light, which is to say that it will retain its value through time. The idea being that I'll change it, hopefully enough that you can understand certain aspects of the current day, 2026, when we talk about social media and things of that aspect, that will change in 50 years. They may not be prevalent in the way that we think they will be. They'll be a distant, dusty old memory, like TV and radio will eventually become also a dusty old memory. But I want to make it readable for somebody in 50 or 100 years' time. But that obviously, for the meantime, means that hopefully it'll make a difference to me financially. So I don't have to constantly mention that I've got a couple of mortgages to pay. I probably will always have them, but hopefully I'm at least paying them so I don't have to concern myself with that aspect of YouTubing. And there's plenty of people who have built a career on YouTube that eventually get to the point where they're like, well, now I can do this full time. Normally what that means is they're financially stable enough to do something that's considered a hobby as their full-time endeavour. For me, it's kind of halfway between the two. I'm not actually financially secure enough to be a YouTuber, and subsequently e-begging is often something that I do, but so be it. You know, I'm just making my way through the YouTube algorithm to hopefully build a channel. After 10 years, it hasn't been built to the point where I'm financially supported by it, but I'm sure there's plenty of other people who are in exactly the same boat. They probably do 2 jobs. Although I do 2 jobs at the moment, I'm still got 30, 40 microphones left to flog. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I want to be more laid back in what I do. I still want to continue doing flat earth debate because there's a generalised perception that there is a debate, even though there isn't, even though everyone's measuring earth flat. That we're on the first rung of communicating that fact to people so that the subject of flat earth gets put back into a geography subject and the heliocentric deception falls to the wayside. In my humble opinion, that will happen anyway, even if we did nothing. It's a perceived to be lie in the respect that it's incorrect, and therefore will fall anyway. It's not going to sustain itself indefinitely. You can't sustain something that's incorrect indefinitely. But I don't think that it would even need our assistance. I think heliocentrism will fall eventually anyway. And then you go, well, what difference does it make? I'll still have to pay the mortgage. No. What difference will it make to the way that Earth gets dealt with? None. Doesn't matter. The only thing that it would alter is our perception of retrograde motion. Who gives a shit? Literally. What else is it serving? Nothing.
Nothing yet.
It offers suggested explanations for things that don't require them. So, for instance, for the person that perceives they're on a ball, right? In their mind, the sun rises and falls as a result of them being on a ball. But you're like, that isn't something that was required to be explained by a orbital motion or a heliocentric system. That was above and beyond. They're incorporating or layering on top of their explanation for retrograde motion this necessity to have that motion of the sun explained by a heliocentric aspect. But it isn't required. That is to say, nothing will change about how the sun is perceived to you if you relinquished a heliocentric worldview. It doesn't make any difference to what the sun does it? It still rises and falls. You still see it doing what it does. So who cares? It's not going to change anything because you don't perceive an aspect of heliocentrism as it is explained when looking at the sun. That doesn't matter. Yeah?
Pardon me.
Good.
Rising and falling is with respect to a horizontal plane of reference.
Yes, indeed it is. Again, that's perfect timing. So another aspect of, well, what would change if you relinquish your heliocentric worldview? Well, nothing. Even incorporated within apogee and perigee and ascension and declination and all of the different aspects of heliocentrism that are required from flat planes to put into orbital motion. All of these aspects are described in the first instance from a flat plane anyway, so it really makes absolutely no difference. Like, it still will be measured and described and detailed from the plane it was being described and detailed from, even from within your heliocentric worldview. Right on, John. What can I name today's show?
Nathan's starting to check out.
I'm not starting to check out, though. I don't know what you mean by that, Neil.
Sounds like it.
No, I'm talking about going on a book tour, talking about how Earth is measured flat. The attitude that I'm adopting doesn't alter the methodology of communicating this information to a wider audience. That's you, right? My audience. You're still getting to experience this transition, which is what it is, which is why back to the flat Earth debate question of should the show be named this? Well, yeah, because there's a transition that people will experience, but better that they experience a transition in an easy way, in almost a non-existent way. Like, well, nothing's going to change. There will be no transition. Earth was always being measured flat anyway. So you perceive there to be a transition that needs to happen, and that makes you angry. Hypothetical audience member that I'm speaking to. But in reality, nothing's going to change. You'll still have to pay your mortgage tomorrow. Bless you. But ultimately, the world's still dealt with exactly as it was anyway. We still have flight level. We still have sea level. We still have altitudes. We still have elevation angle measurements. Nothing's changing. And you getting involved with this process isn't needed either. I mean, unless you're planning on becoming a pilot tomorrow, who cares if you know? Doesn't matter if you know. No, who cares? Get on with your day. What's that? You still want to believe it's a ball? Now you're engaging in that pain and cognitive dissonance where it's like, thanks, I've got my shopping to do. I'm looking around Legoland. You know, it's nice talking to you, but I've got better things to do now. You needing me to carry on this discussion to alleviate your pain because it offends you is something I can walk away from, can't I? I can turn my back, can't I?
Yeah, but they're not going to let you because they think that they're doing a service for society, because we can't have people saying Earth is flat or Earth is measured flat. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but saying it doesn't make any consequence. The people who express that belief aren't the pilots and map makers who are utilising the measurements of Earth's surface to make sure people don't die. They're not the people erecting buildings on a plane of reference in a manner that stops it from collapsing. They're not of consequence. So the people who fight the flat Earth have no bearing on what Earth is and what it does. That's delusions of grandeur. And in physical reality, that's why I put it in a location, at Legoland, when I say I can turn my back, that person can put their hand on my shoulder, but bang! I can break their teeth, can't I, Neil? After I've tried to turn away from their pain that they're projecting onto me because they dislike the uncomfortable feeling of having to relinquish a religious belief that I've already let go of. I can turn my back on these people. I can walk away from them.
Yeah, but you don't understand. I mean, I know you do. I'm just saying you are in a topic that can shift the whole paradigm if it catches fire. And that cannot happen. They have us on a ball for a reason. And if you want to choose to ignore that and think it's just a show and doesn't mean anything, and you could turn your back on it and nothing grand will happen, then okay.
I can. The people who have got this idea, Neil, are propping it up by, how did I used to put this into analogy? cementing over cracks that we're highlighting. So when we're pointing out how heliocentrism doesn't work, there's the dweebs that come along to fill in those cracks with another layer of bullshit. It happened recently, right? How do you define that you're on a ball? Well, it's the drop over the distance. Distance is a horizontal measurement. No, I can go and get a trundle wheel, and distance that's separate from this drop over the horizontal distance it must be, can be separately measured with a trundle wheel over a hill. You're like, you want to engage in this cement work? Be my guest. But it needs constant maintenance. Entropy is constantly working its way against heliocentrism. Now, you're saying we need to stop the maintenance workers who are constantly slathering this layer of bullshit over the top of it when people from the sideline go, is that a really big crack? No, there's no crack, nothing to see. Let them. But the fact is, entropy is continually working its way against the incorrect information in regards to the world that you do not live on when it comes to its sphericity. It cannot survive indefinitely. It can't, Neil. And I humbly believe that I am as inconsequential to defeating that paradigm in need of constant maintenance, because it's in need of constant maintenance. Nothing lasts forever. There are only a certain number of constants in everybody's lives. And
You're
one of those constants... I'm nearly done. One of those constants is having a flat plane beneath our feet to measure. So why would I worry when the only thing that can exist as a constant is the very thing they're bracing against? I've got nothing to worry about, Neil.
No, you're downplaying it a little too much. Certain things would not happen unless certain people made a move and went against a certain system that had control. Right? I won't bring it up because I don't want to turn it into something else. But there was a certain person who went and slapped something on a Roman Catholic Church, and a whole paradigm shifted. You're doing the same thing. You're taking your flat earth measurements and you're slapping them on a door of a ball. And you don't think that that's going to require and change is going to happen?
Maybe.
You're downplaying it.
I can only utilise the attitude that my opponent, as I'm perceiving them and describing them to this audience, would take in terms of their attitude also. What's in it for me? Well, I can say moving forward that hopefully book sales. I can go out and do the rounds. But having been put into a position where the argument, the battle has already been won, and after we've cleared the battleground, we go, this wasn't necessary. We were fighting over these miles of area that were measured flat to begin with. Why were we having a battle? They were on the same battleground. It seems silly now. But when I'm out and about on a book tour, trying to promote my book that I've got to promote, there'll inevitably be people who want that scenario to reign true again, the debate to continue. They'll want to create the perception of debate. And I mean, no doubt that there'll be new things that I haven't encountered from the cognitively dissonant. They'll invent a new way to create that scenario. I can't get away with it. Hence, the show title does not need to change. But I'll reiterate my point from a moment ago because you disagreed with it. If you're in need of constant maintenance, if you're by equivalence, the car that is heliocentrism, it will eventually succumb to rust. The parts will eventually run out. And the parts themselves are all derived from something that the people who are patching up the car are bracing against. Metal doesn't exist, you say, but you're constantly patching the car with metal. So it seems silly, it seems like a folly to concern ourselves with the longevity of the heliocentric system. It had its original purpose. It explained retrograde motion. It then had a necessity to square lots of other circles that suddenly didn't make sense. That's become the prevalent worldview, but it is in constant need of maintenance. Constant. And that maintenance comes, that's the last point I'll make, that maintenance comes at a cognitively painful price for those who slather the layers of concrete bullshit over the cracks. Now, we learnt that from our anti-globe rhetoric over the years. Now I say, why would I want to cause anybody the pain of pointing out the cracks? The cracks are there anyway. They are the ones that need to fill them. Why point them out? They're cracks. That means it's failing and always will be, constantly crumbling, constantly succumbing to entropy. Heliocentrism, I don't give it more than another couple of 100 years. In reality, it's only been in true effect for about 150 to 200 years. It's only been in existence as a true concept for the last 500. So I give it another 100, 150 years before it completely fails. Doesn't answer my question. What can I call today's show? Anybody got any ideas for show titles? I'm looking at you, Discord.
Apathy of reality.
The apathy of reality. Pretty good. Any disagreement with that as a show title?
The nature of Earth.
That's too broad. Let's spell apathy. A-P-A-T-H-Y.
Apathy. Yes.
Apathy of reality. Cool. Good show title. I can then make a thumbnail. If I've got a show title, I'm going to try and do this more regularly now, because my biggest failure as a YouTuber is producing good thumbnails. But if I can come up with a show title, like yesterday, I think I came up with the show title, You Don't Matter. So all I did was look down hold the iPad and, look at the lens. And then I've got a thumbnail that I can put You Don't Matter on it. And that is a useful endeavour. If I've got a title, I can make a thumbnail. So, the apathy of reality, perfect. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.